Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to go over words 11 through 20 in our Unit 9 vocab today. While I'm thinking about it, I did assign synonyms and antonyms this morning. They both had a few issues. I was able to go into the antonyms assignment as it was and correct it so that it showed the grades correctly. Synonyms would not let me edit for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Again, I'm new to Google Classroom just like you guys are. But I went in and I re-uploaded that assignment for one class. For the other class, I was able to fix it such that it would show grades. If you're part of 7B and you were one of the 3 or 4 people who had already done that assignment, sorry, but you need to go back in and redo it. Someone's mentioned to me that they missed a question because they spelled a word wrong. Be really careful on your spelling on these. I've got it set up to where it'll take the word capitalized or uncapitalized with an ed or ing or without if it requires one or doesn't. I've gone through those possibilities, but of course I can't account for every way you could possibly misspell a word. So be really careful with the spelling on these. You should have your vocab book to look at as a reference. If you just put in the base word, it will take it. And I mean, I've uploaded the pages onto Google Classroom for you to look at if you don't have your book. So just be really careful with the spelling on those or you will miss it. I'm going to talk about the outsiders a little bit when I get done with 11 through 20. Not going to go into it in too much depth, but just to know, make sure you get a copy of it if you don't have one already. We'll start reading it next week. First day of classes next week. I'll probably read part of the first chapter, maybe all of it, and talk to you guys about it and have a video with that. We'll probably start on Unit 10 of vocab sometime next week. We will have completing the sentence early that week. But like I said, we're going to go through vocab pretty quickly. All right, with that said, we'll start with Unit 9, 11 through 20. Word 11 is melancholy. It means really sad, like depressed acting. It can be an adjective or it can be a noun. When you use it as a noun, you would say like, I'm filled with melancholy because I'm trapped inside, quarantined away from everyone because of the coronavirus. Or you might say he seemed melancholy for a long time after the death of his grandmother or his dog or something like that. So you could use it to say someone feels sad or they're filled with sadness. So either one works. Word 12 is ordeal. So an ordeal is a noun. Don't use this as a verb. I've seen a lot of people say I ordealed or something like that. It's not the way you use it. An ordeal is a noun. It's something you go through, something that's difficult or challenging. So you might say learning to do my classes online was an ordeal. Having to go through and watch videos and do all these assignments and make sure I spelled everything right for the first time in my life was an ordeal. Or running 10 miles was an ordeal. It was something difficult, like a trial, a test. You could say our exams were an ordeal. Pretty easy one to use as long as you remember what part of speech it belongs in. Word 13 is parch. So parch is a verb. It means to make something dry. You can use it with an ed on the end to say like my throat was parched because I hadn't had anything to drink in a long time. The desert left me parched. Or you could describe a landscape itself as being parched. You could say we didn't get rain for a month, so the land was parched, or the plants were parched. Okay, and parched is generally the way that it's used with an ed on the end. I think synonyms and antonyms both use it that way. Though I've got it where it'll take it if you just put parch. So be on the lookout for that. Word 14 is persist. So to persist is again a verb. It's to keep going with something, to endure. So if you, and this doesn't necessarily have to be like a good thing. If we're in the classroom and I say, hey, stop talking, and you keep going, you're persisting in talking, persisting in doing whatever I told you not to do. You might have to persist in a race. If you're really tired and you're only halfway through, you might have to persist, to endure. So again, pretty easy word to use in that one. Word 15 is puny. This is a word you're probably familiar with. It's an adjective. It means something that's small, something that's weak, or something that's unimportant. Basically, it's a pretty negative term for something that's lacking. It's insignificant. You might say the puny boy couldn't lift the book, or you might say English is of puny significance to me because I prefer math. I don't know. But you can use it to mean important, size, strength, things like that, but it's always in a negative, like a less than something else context. It's always an adjective. Word 16 is quibble. So quibble can be a verb or a noun. The meanings are pretty related though. As a verb, to quibble is to argue over something, usually something that's not very important. So I might quibble with you over why your favorite color is blue. I might be really adamant that red is a better color, and we might quibble, argue over something super unimportant like that. A quibble is an argument or a gripe you have over some small detail. So I might say, I have a quibble with you because you spell your name with a K instead of a C, something stupid like that. It's just a small minor gripe. It doesn't have to be over something stupid, but it's just over something that's not terribly important. So you might say, we had a quibble because he didn't invite me to lunch the other day and he invited someone else, something like that. Use it as a noun, use it as a verb. Usually it's to do with something insignificant that someone's arguing about or fussing about. Word 17 is ratified. So to ratify something is to approve it. This is usually in a legal sense, like with court systems or with Congress, the Senate, things like that. So if a bill goes in and they all vote to approve it, it has been ratified, then it becomes a law. Same thing can happen at a smaller level, like if in the classroom, say somebody proposes a new class rule that anybody who talks out of turn has to get up and do 10 push-ups, and we all take a vote and I agree, we have ratified that rule. It means we've approved it, we've put it into effect. Use it as a verb, pretty simple word, one you're probably familiar with from history classes. Word 18 is regal. Regal has to do with royalty, like a king or a queen, an emperor or something like that, something that it could be used to describe something specifically with a monarch like that, or it could be used to describe something that's reminiscent of that. Like if you said they had a really regal home, it means like it's really rich, really nice, lots of expensive looking furniture and things. He dressed regally. It means he dresses like someone of importance, dresses like someone with a lot of money, like he could be royalty. So use it in the context of royalty specifically, or when something reminds you or seems like royalty, and regal is an adjective. Stifle, word 19 is a verb. So to stifle something, this can be literal or figurative. When it's literal, it's to smother something, stop it from breathing. So if you're watching a murder show or movie and a guy goes into a hospital room and takes a pillow and suffocates someone with it, he's stifling them to death. This can also be used figuratively. It can be to hold someone back or to hold something back. So if you're just really, really good at, I don't know, playing guitar or something, and your parents tell you, no, you don't need to practice guitar all the time. You need to work on your schoolwork. You don't need to worry about the guitar. It's not going to take you anywhere. They might be stifling your creativity, stifling your ability to do that. That would be the case with any kind of hobby or anything that someone tells you not to pursue. They would be stifling that interest. As opposed to if someone encourages you, they're doing the opposite of stifling. Again, that's in the figurative sense. They're figuratively suffocating or smothering your interest in something, stifling it. Word 20 is vital. So something that's vital is really, really important. It is essential. This is an adjective. It comes from the word vitals, which are like your organs, like your heart, your lung, your stomach. Those are your vitals, your vital organs. It means the ones that are essential to your life. So you might say, my success in English class is of vital importance to my parents being happy with me. You might say, doing my assignments is of vital importance to my grade. Just generally things like that. It means something that's really important. Usually it's got to do with life or death, but not always. It can just be something extremely important. Like I said, the figurative sense, like with a classroom, that's obviously not life or death, I hope. But you could say something is of vital importance without it meaning necessarily just to keep you alive. But you could say in the more literal sense, something like water and clean air to breathe are vital to survival. And that would be accurate. All right, again, make sure you do synonyms and antonyms by midnight tonight. It's just 15 questions. I'm sorry for those of you who did it really early when synonyms was messed up. I don't think that'll happen again. I've got it figured out now, but sometimes Classroom's a pain with answer keys and things like that. If you misspell a word, let me know, and I can go in and manually fix it. I've already done that with one person, or I'm going to. I've got it marked that I will. When it comes time to put the grade in RenWeb, because the grades on here are not final. The ones on RenWeb will be. But just let me know if something comes up like that, or if you put an ing or an ed or something and it counts it wrong, and I haven't made it such that it won't. Just let me know so I can fix it. But in general, be really careful on the spelling with these, because I don't want to have to go back through and fix everybody's every time you miss something because you misspelled it. It's just lazy, and at some point in a few weeks, if you're like, hey, I misspelled a word, I'm going to say too bad. With that said, we are going to be starting The Outsiders next week. So this novel is by S.E. Hinton. S.E. Hinton was, or is, I believe she's still alive, an author from Oklahoma. This was her first novel. She wrote it when she was around 15 or 16 years old, so not much older than you guys, which has always been pretty impressive to me. And it's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. My students last year enjoyed it a lot, and in general, that grade's not quite as avid of a group of readers as you guys are. So I think you guys will really like it. It deals with, it's a coming of age story, a Bildungsroman, like I've talked about before, like most novels aimed at your age group are. It's based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, though I don't believe that's ever stated outright in the book. It's where S.E. Hinton was from, and she later acknowledged this. And she did write sequels to it later, but this was her only really successful book. It's based around a character named Ponyboy Curtis, which, yes, is an awful name, and yes, you will hear me say that a lot, so get used to it. And it's about the social conflict, so there's a lot of man versus society in this, between two groups, the Greasers, which Ponyboy's a part of, which are kind of like a gang. They wear black leather jackets, white t-shirts, things like that. And the Socias. You're going to want to say the Socs. S-O-C-S is how it's written. It's not the Socs, it's the Socias. It's short for the Socials, which, again, it's kind of a dumb name. Hinton's strength is not in naming people or groups, though she is a good writer, trust me on that. But the Socias and the Greasers, the Socias, the Socials, they're the rich kids, the kids with nice cars and nice clothes and big expensive houses and all that. The Greasers are poor kids, kind of. They're not necessarily what you would think of as gangsters nowadays, but they might have been that back in, I believe, the 50s was when this was originally written. It might have been the 60s. There is a movie of this. I'm not sure how appropriate it is from a language standpoint. I've heard it's got a little bit of bad language because I've been wary of showing it in class before, even though I've been asked. I think some of you have seen it. I have not actually watched it. I may at some point just to see how close it is to the book, but I've heard it's decent, not great, not terrible. But if you want to check that out, feel free, but don't use it as an approximation for the book. Being that we're going to be doing a lot of vocab, I'm not going to assign you like 3 or 4 chapters at a time on this, so don't freak out on me. I'll probably assign you 1 chapter per night, something like that, and the chapters are not terribly long. The first chapter is about 16 pages, and the print's not tiny, so it should be pretty easy to read that much in a day. And I'll assign that with something like choosing the right word. It'll probably be 30, 35, 40 minutes of work total. And being that my videos are usually going to trend a little bit shorter, I know this one's approaching 12 minutes, but I'm talking about 2 different things. I think that's a reasonable amount. And if it's too much, and a lot of you are giving me feedback like saying, hey, the reading and the vocab at the same night and all this is too much, I don't have enough time to do it, just let me know. I'll be reasonable and we'll work on it. We may have to spread it out a little bit more. We will do some discussion posts on this where I'll post questions and you'll give me answers based on the chapter. You'll have to have read it to answer those accurately. I may tell you, hey, you have to respond to this and you have to give feedback on a couple of other students' responses. So it'll be kind of a forum discussion board type thing. I may do some multiple choice quizzes on this online, which, yeah, they'll be pretty easy. Obviously, they're open book. I may do some more short answer type quizzes where you actually have to think about it and give me more drawn out answers. We will probably write an essay on this through Turnitin. I'm not going to necessarily be as strict on it as I would be a take-home essay that I've given you really, really detailed feedback on and been able to go through the red pen, because I can't do that. I can give you feedback on Turnitin. I can allow you to do peer review on Turnitin. I will probably do both of those things, and we'll probably write a final draft, and we'll do that when we're done with the book. Probably just a 5-paragraph essay. I'm not going to make you do anything too crazy. But I do want us to write something based on this book. And we may do some shorter essays throughout, like a 3-paragraph, really kind of informal essay every once in a while on a few chapters that we read. But be ready for that. Just know it's coming. As far as a full-on test for the book, because I don't anticipate us being back in school anytime soon, I don't know exactly how I would format that. I might try to do something online, like I said in my introductory video. If I find a way to do tests that lets me be sure that you're not looking up answers online, like an actual testing browser. If I find a way to do that, probably. But even then, I can't keep you from having the book in your hand. So, we'll see. Probably more than likely, I'll probably just take the essay as the test grade for this book, and we'll do quizzes and daily work aside from that. But get a copy of it. You can go ahead and start reading it if you want to. I'm not officially assigning any reading because I know some of you may not have it yet. Again, stay clean, wash your hands, stay safe. See you guys.